Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the Voice of Reason. In today's episode, I've titled the video The Ethiopian Apocalypse. Now, why have I titled it The Ethiopian Apocalypse? Well, plain and simple, there is an apocalypse in many parts of Ethiopia. If you are outside of Addis Ababa, and you are looking at areas inside of the Oromia region, there is a significant fighting occurring. And I wanted to start today and talk about the progress and the gains of the Oromo Liberation Army. And what you are looking at on my map, you can clearly see the capital, Addis Ababa, to the right of the screen. And you can also see much of western Oromia. In the areas that are yellow, the areas that are yellow and red and are blinking, such as Shambu, Amaru, Gimbi, these areas are where we are seeing fairly significant engagements and fighting taking place. And obviously, just north of Addis Ababa, just a few dozen miles to the north, you can see zones where the Oromo Liberation Army is very active and have made quite a bit of progress. Much of this progress is the result of the ongoing conflict between the Tigray region and the Ethiopian state and the Amhara region as well. But if we go further to the west and we look at the areas in relation to the Grand Renaissance Dam, we can see that there is fighting going on in the Benishanga region. There is tremendous upheaval in these areas, and areas actually to the south of the Grand Renaissance Dam are under the control of anti-government armed groups. And the border areas that are also in the western Oromia region are firmly under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. Towns such as Mendi, Biasia, and Gadami. Again, all of these areas are firmly under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army, and is for the most part a no-go zone for the Ethiopian army and the security forces. Now, there are elements of the Oromo Regional Security Forces that are obviously operating in these areas. There is still a portion of the population of the Oromo region of Oromia that supports the central government inside of Addis Ababa. But again, most of the support in terms of the federal government inside of Addis Ababa, the Prosperity Party, is coming from support inside of the Amhara region, which is in an all-out war right now with the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And Tigray is, for all intents and purposes now, a fully independent state. It's its own governance, its own military. It is going its own way. I could not envision the Tigray region going back under the foot of the Addis Ababa-based Prosperity Party anytime soon. The only way that I could see that the Tigray region would work its way back into the fold if there was some sort of regime change inside of Addis Ababa and some sort of guarantees that the Amhara region would not have the amount of power that it currently wields inside of the Ethiopian body politic. But again, as we look at the fighting that is taking place along the southern front, meaning the front between the Tigray region and the Amhara region. The fighting continues very intensely. We are seeing the Tigrayan Defense Forces now pushing back from the setbacks that we're seeing around Debre Tabor, Nefes Micha, and we are now seeing a push by the Tigrayan Defense Forces towards Debre Zabet. And we can also say that there is a continued fighting going on between Nefes Micha and all the way down towards Debre Tabor. We continue to see, as I talked about on previous videos, and again, this is something that is not going to resolve itself in a matter of a day, a week, or even a month, and especially as this conflict evolves into more of a conventional conflict. So again, we're seeing a conventional conflict, but at the same time, we're seeing heavy elements of insurgency type operations, especially on the part of really both sides. So in some cases, we are seeing the Amhara regional militias launch operations back into the Amhara region itself, looking to possibly seize control of areas that maybe the TDF is not as active. We saw that near Sokoto. We've seen it near Weldia and other places as well. And at the same time, we continue to see the Tigrayan Defense Forces continue to operate now in a much more conventional manner. We are seeing the use of heavy artillery, tanks, and what have you. The only thing we haven't really seen yet is the use of aircraft by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And I can tell you, we may not be too far off. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to see multi-role jet fighters being deployed by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, but there are other means, there are other methods that could be used by the Tigrayan Defense Forces to provide some semblance of an air attack. I'll talk about that more later, but there's definitely obviously airfields. There are certain capabilities that the TDF could deploy at some point that would resemble the possible use of air power. But again, that's a little later down the road. But again, right now we continue to see this very heavy fighting that is taking place. Obviously, south of Weldia, very intense fighting going on south of Mersa in the environments south of Hayek and at the door of Dese. Again, I just touched on the movement of the TDF pressing west towards a possible goal of retaking Debre Tabor and moving either towards more north towards Gondar or possibly Bahir Dar. And we continue to see the TDF making movements south of Adiyakar around Debark and in the environments of Dabat, especially overland deep penetration raids to the west of Dabat and to the east of Debark as these forces are at times moving south to make attacks. But the area along the southeastern frontal zone from Sokoto to Lalibela to Gashina over to Weldia and then south all the way down to Hayek is firmly under the control, and Kobo obviously is firmly under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And again, we received reports going back down to the Oromo region. We've seen video documentation of some fairly significant attacks by the Oromo Liberation Army on a variety of targets in the Oromo region. So again, I had been asked about what was occurring in the Oromo region, and I had not discussed it on a few recent videos. But the fighting is very intense in some areas. And continues, obviously. And it's just not in the western Oromia region. We are seeing it in the southeastern region. We're seeing cities such as Buhl, Hora under full siege by the Oromo Liberation Army. Many of the areas along the Kenyan border are under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. such as areas such as Negele Borana, again under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army, and it moves all the way up towards the northeastern Oromo region. But that is the status right now. Again, the title of the video, The Ethiopian Apocalypse. We're looking at a dissolving state. Much of the areas inside of Ethiopia, outside of Addis Ababa. Again, I understand if you are in Addis Ababa, you feel like and you may have some semblance of stability. But as you move outside of Addis Ababa into Western Oromia, into other areas, it's a completely different story. Completely different story. Very chaotic. It's in some areas, again, especially if you're in the war zones south of Weldea, in between Dese, it's an active, high-intensity war zone, and the fighting is very, very intense west of Gashina as well. So again, the decision by the Ethiopian state to launch this invasion in tandem with the Eritrean military into the Tigray region has really dissolved into something that I do not believe the Prosperity Party or Abiy Ahmed ever could have envisioned. This police action, the so-called police action that was taken, in reality, it was not a police action. It was a full-scale military invasion of a semi-autonomous region that was simply asking to have elections inside of its region, and for that, the Ethiopian state, with its Amhara allies, felt it needed to eliminate the political entity known as the TPLF and completely remove those folks from the equation. And unfortunately, this has spiraled out of control into something that was not envisioned, was not planned for, and we are now seeing the fruits of a really bad decision. Not only that, we're starting to see more talk of economic sanctions by the United States, by the West, against Ethiopia, against the despotic regime inside of Eritrea. And that is because of the decision-making process that was made on the part of the Prosperity Party to launch this military invasion of the Tigray region. Again, I understand proponents of the Prosperity Party will say that the initial attack was made by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, by the TPLF against the Northern Command, and the Ethiopian state simply responded to that attack. I can tell you that is simply not true. It is a lie. That was a preemptive operation by the TDF on the part of the buildup of forces that was planning a major operation inside of the Tigray region. The operation in terms of the invasion of Tigray was already underway. It was already authorized in terms of the forces that would be used by the Ethiopian state, by the Eritrean state, to then invade the Tigray region. There would have been a lot longer planning and preparation post the attack on Northern Command, if in fact it was solely the attack by the Tigrayan Defense Forces that caused all this. You have to understand that the Ethiopian military, the Tigrayan military, had already prepared and was in position to launch this attack when it did, and that's kind of where we're at today, and the cause and effect of some of these the poor decision making on the part of the Prosperity Party and its leadership under Abiy Ahmed. But again, that's where it sets. That is what happened. Wherever you set on the equation, that is absolute fact. And now this is where we set. Total war inside of Ethiopia, or the former state of Ethiopia, as it is no longer a functioning homogeneous state. That is out the window. But again, we will continue to report, and we will make another video soon. Have a great day, everybody.